Hello, and welcome back to the Honest Business Podcast. I hope you are very well. Today we're going to talk about 5 things that I'm working on in the business, in May James Limited, in 2024. I thought this might be interesting to you. I know some of you are quite nosy, so you might want to know what we're working on. I say I am working on. It's the team effort, and I'm really grateful for the amazing team that I have around me. So some of these are specifically just for me, but a lot of them tend to involve other people, but these are what we had decided on back in October. We had a internal 2024 strategy day. Some of these were actually identified back in August, but then they were really solidified in October. And so I'm going to talk you through 5 things. So number one is refinement. It's nothing special. Refinement is something that's really important to me. It's important to the business. It's something that we live and breathe every day, to continue to improve on what we have to offer, continue to improve my craft and what I do. You know, I'm very open in saying I constantly am up leveling, constantly learning new things, constantly trying to make sure that the service we have for clients, and ultimately that is me in terms of delivering strategic advisory advice, is high level, is up there, is one of the best that you can find, is like really constantly is top of mind always. And I do that through a number of different ways, but it's kind of always a kind of North Star is about refinement and improvement. We are always as a business reflecting, tweaking, auditing, changing, just trying to like do a 1% shift, every single day. And that really, really does equate to a lot over a year period. So that is a big focus point for 2024. Another focus point is team alignment. So what I mean by that is continuing to create more time relieving strategies for me and for other people in the business. So it's kind of like management, I suppose, in the sense of really happy with the team we've got. You know, a lot of people have been here now for quite a while, which is really lovely. We've got a nice flow to the team, and that takes time. I think people forget, like, it does take time for people to settle into roles, for roles to really like figure out, is that working? Like, especially when you're in a small businesses or startup or something that's constantly moving and growing. We are at a point where we've spent this year really helping people get into their wheelhouse of what they're doing on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. And, you know, we're not 100% there, but we're pretty much like solid for most people. Now, what's really exciting is how do we continue to pull more from me so that I do less and less and less. And I already do a lot less than I sort of ever thought was possible with a business like May James, and where a lot of people look at me and think, you know, well, you do everything, Julie, and that means that it's really draining, it's not very sustainable. Like, I think we've disproved a ton around that. But there's always things that I can be doing to further optimize my time and other key members of the team. So towards the end of this year, we've been really looking at how do I then sort of extend this to other people in the team, specifically like my head of operations, for example, who has been in the business, one of the longest like standing team members, and she's amazing and she's an absolute joy, and I'm so lucky to have her. But also being able to turn around and say to her, like, you know, what do you not enjoy doing, or what do you not want to do anymore? That was like such a good feeling. And it's quite funny because she turned around and was like, I love it. Like, she's like, I love most things. So she's like, if I didn't like something, I'd say. But being able to work out, you know, like who actually needs to be doing what tasks, which in the business, we have a variety of different levels in terms of like pay and what we're paying people and why, what level of responsibility they have. So for 2024, it's really about us just refining that further of like, are the tasks that are being given to people the right tasks for the right person, and is it at the right point, and is the responsibility level enough? Because that's ultimately what it is, right? A lot of the time the fee that we're paying is dependent on that, which is fine. That like works all right, it's nothing wrong with that. But really looking at team alignment and how do we further oil that machine, and how do we further get it going so that, you know, everybody enjoys what they do, because that's important to me. I don't really want anyone doing anything that you don't like. And because I have got, you know, a nice small team, but there's more than 2 of us, it means that people can do tasks that they want to do. And I believe that, you know, if you can give people stuff that they want to do, they will be more motivated, they're going to do a better job. So team alignment internally is something that we are looking at. The third thing I'm working on, and this is specifically me, in 2024 is decision making. This decision making is something that will always be on this list, probably. As a leader, I think it's one of the hardest things to do. It's something that you constantly are looking at. So when I'm talking about decision making, what I mean is the speed in which I do it, the energy that's attached to it is another big one, and the quality of the decisions that I make. So ultimately, with decision making, the issue that always comes up is time versus reactiveness versus responsiveness versus quality of decision. And that is something that is constantly whirling around in my head, and is something that I'm constantly looking at and trying to work out. Ultimately, the reason that I'm trying to advance this further is due to reducing the mental load that's on me, and also kind of energetic fatigue or decision fatigue, and just reducing this level of, how many times does something need to come through me, or can it come through me, or where do we make a decision on something, or are we making decisions, like, am I making 10 decisions in one day in a 1 hour meeting versus making 10 decisions over the space of a week, and it's taken up loads of time and results in way more time than it needs to. So really looking deeply at, again, more so stuff around leadership of like, how do we really nail down decision making? This year I've made personally a lot of progress with that, and I'm really pleased with myself for that, because it's something I do find really tricky. And when I say that, I don't mean like necessarily just like it's a yes or no. I mean more around like how we do it or why something we do it. And often, even if the question or the decision I'm being faced with is a closed question in the sense of it's a yes or no answer, the reason the decision can be difficult is because of the sort of additional factors or the contributing factors that lie within that. And that's kind of the kicker. That's the thing that's slightly tricky, but we're making progress with. Number 4 is the main kind of focus for the year in terms of everybody. So in terms of like what the whole team's on board with and what is the focus for like the whole business, we are looking at audience growth and expansion of message. That is a big focus point for next year. So yes, that can mean numbers. It can mean like physically seeing a growth in that, but also just about who gets the message. Are people understanding it? How long is it taking for people to get what we're about? How, lead time is something we look at. It's not something that I'm hugely big on trying to reduce, because I'm quite comfortable with the fact that sometimes, people sit and stalk us or watch us or enjoy our content or look, and potentially think about working with us for 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. We've even had like longer than that. And I'm not huge on like, for me, it's not massive about how do we get everybody to only, convert within 3 weeks, because that's just not realistic and it's not what we need to do. And actually this year we've done a lot to help speed that process up, and it's worked phenomenally well, which has been really exciting. So that's not really the focus for next year, but it's more also around the understanding of the message, or understanding about what we do, or the understanding about why would they work with us. We've built out a lot of KPIs around audience growth. Obviously, it's typically quite easy to do, which is nice, but really consciously looking at our audience growth is going to be a topic that is inside of internally in the business for the whole year. And we're really focusing on, and I'm excited about it because it's not something we've really spent a lot of time looking at or analyzed hugely. Every month we look at our marketing reports, and we do look at it, but it's never, for me, in the KPI of the year, it's never like audience growth or doubling followers on Instagram or something. That's never been the kind of like focus point, really. But it's going to be nice for 2024 for us to look at things in a different way. And I'm excited because it really involves a lot of the team. Well, it involves all the team pretty much, which is also exciting because it keeps everybody on a kind of North Star, which I like. We're flying through these. I hope you're enjoying the episode. It might be a bit of a short and sweet one, but there's nothing wrong with that. I am now going to touch on the final one. 5 things I'm working on in the business in 2024. So we've got 1 was refinement, 2 was team alignment, 3 was decision making, 4 was audience growth and expansion of message, and number 5 is just around marketing additions. So naturally from number 4, obviously audience growth is something we're looking at. Therefore, number 5 is around marketing and looking about how do we, are we continuing using the channels we're using? What are we changing? That sort of thing. But in terms of what we're working on, one of the things is adding in a second email a week to our kind of weekly flow. So right now we have the CEO Edit, which I love. It's an amazing kind of lifestyle and business. I don't want to say it's a magazine, but it's kind of like you get a little thing in your inbox every week, and it's quite exciting, hopefully, and people really enjoy it, which is nice. We are wanting to add a second email into the mix, which is more of a business heavy focus point. That was something we wanted to do this year and hasn't happened for various reasons. And so this is like, that's one of the kind of core things that we're looking at. Again, that's super easy, right? Like the reality of it is we could add it tomorrow, we could start doing it and it could just move. But when you've got so many different projects going on at one time, you are deciding constantly on a daily basis what's a priority, what isn't. And there's many schools of thoughts and arguments as to why it should be or shouldn't be top of that list, but ultimately it hasn't been. But I'm looking forward to getting some kind of format around that. So if anyone has any thoughts around what they'd like to see in that kind of email format every week, feel free to say hello. In amongst the marketing additions, we're also later in the year going to hopefully look at some SEO stuff, which again is like another thing that it's like unless we consciously be like, this is a part of the strategy and this is part of something we're looking at, then inevitably it's something that people often sort of push to the side. So we're going to look at that. And then we'll also just look about our funnels and about automation and about segmentation and how can we explore that further and optimize further, because there's a whole load of stuff that we're not doing that we could be doing. And so those are kind of some of the projects. Sorry, my nose is running, which is really unpleasant if you're listening. I apologize. But yeah, those are kind of the market and pieces that we're looking at in amongst all the other stuff that we're doing at the same time. LinkedIn's also on there in the sense of actually utilizing the audience we have on there and making sure that we can provide some kind of content that's worthwhile people consuming and that's interesting and that makes sense. So that is another focus point. But ultimately, to sum it up, I want to just keep doing what I love and I want to keep doing what we're good at, because we're good at a lot of things. We provide a really fab, solid base for people. We give an amazing service. And I'm always just about improving that and always about maintaining that, but doing better and making it more valuable for the people that choose to work with me, but also making sure I enjoy what I love. Personally wise, I've got an interesting year next year. And so I also need to make sure that I sort of, for me, 2024 is going to be a year of just enjoying the balance. This year I've really lay into that in the sense of I've really enjoyed doing my 4 days of work and my 3 days off. That will continue next year. And I want to just continue to make sure that I'm loving my every day, because every single day I'm so immensely grateful that I wake up and I jump out of bed and I am really excited to get to work, to say hello to the team, to collaborate with the team. Like, that brings me so much joy, talking to clients, engaging with them, helping them. And I don't ever want that to leave me. And that's a conscious decision. And I think all of us have to make a conscious decision of like, what are we here for and what are we trying to achieve? And so that's really important. I think doing things with love is really important to me as well. Like next year, continuing the idea that we are good people doing good work and we have a lot of love to share, because people's days can be made through very short interactions. And that's really important to me. And ultimately just keep serving clients at the highest level possible. So that is what we are focusing on in the business in 2024. We are trying to not try and do as many projects next year, but in 2023 we have gotten through a lot of stuff, and that has meant that it's just been, a lot, and it's been hugely successful, which is great. But I'm looking forward to, I say focus on fewer. There is fewer projects. Having more time and space for specific things, which is really lovely. That is all for this episode. I would love to know what things you're working on in your business. Please come and tell me, or do a post on social and then tag me so I can see it. I'd love to know what you're working on. Maybe this has given you some ideas of what you might be working on. Join me in another episode next week. Take care, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.